There are certain situations where sometimes it's quite challenging, I guess, to stand for your faith, especially in a place where you know it's going to make things a lot harder. Especially like with decisions that you have to make even in the workplace, and then you always get the counsel just finish it off. Like say even if it's something to do with like bribing officials, and these things which are very much a part of life every day. We know that they're happening, but it kind of changes a bit. Like with the Christian faith, because you got to make a stand for your faith. But I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that process and some of the challenges and how you've overcome those challenges.
Well, I think the most important thing is not what you do, but what you demonstrate to others. And what does happen in an organization is that people look at you for decisions. Uh, and you make decisions on a continuous basis. There are, after a while, they form a perception of you based on the kind of decisions that you make. At some stage, they realize that, you know, if you go to him with this, most likely this is what is going to be his response. So there is finally an image which gets created of who you are. And I think as Christians at work, we need to make sure that we convey the right image, and all the image that we convey is based on the kind of decisions that we make, and those decisions and the perception of those decisions by those who work alongside you. That's extremely important. Just a couple of examples. For instance, once we were having a difficult business situation. um, it was in 2008, and we needed to downsize the organization. That's a tough call, because you end up with having to decide how do you want to, how many people do you need to reduce. And at one stage you've got to tell them the bad news that they're not going to be working with you from tomorrow, from 3 months later, or whatever. And so we addressed the problem slightly differently. So we said that, what are we doing it for? I mean, we're doing it because we want to reduce cost. So we said, if you're going to be reducing cost, are reducing people the only way to reduce cost, or can we look at other things? So we looked at a variety of things that we could do, and we treated that as a team exercise, because I told the team that this is the imperative and this is what we need to do, because looking at the larger stakeholder interest, we have to make sure that we reduce the cost to be able to get to this level of profit. And a lot of people doing voluntary things in terms of, let's substitute packaged mineral water with water that we can buy in 25-liter canisters and fill in bottles every day. And several things, one pull of the tissue paper in the toilet, rather than just taking, so there are several ways in which people came up with ideas to be able to reduce costs. And I think the important thing is that, if you it was easy to be unilateral. It is easy to be unidimensional by telling them that, we've got to reduce costs, we're going to reduce so many people. But the moment you got people involved in something like this, then they said that, they felt the need, they empathized with it, they helped you to be able to do what you had to do.
Oh, okay. It's an interesting way of looking at it also.
That's
You
true.
know, you don't have to like reduce the people to reduce the cost. That's nice.
Which is the classical route that most companies tend to go
Yeah.
to, because they're easy. You can see it. It's simple to reduce it. You can understand the impact of the numbers straight away, whereas you can't understand the impact of cost reduction measures immediately. But if you tell you're going to remove 4 people, you know exactly what the salary changes are going to be.
Yes, sir. Um, how do you hold on to your spiritual convictions while you climb the corporate ladder? Success.
Uh, I think you have to imbibe it. I don't think you can. It doesn't grow on you. There are certain things that you imbibe, and once you imbibe it, then it stays with you. You remain steadfast to it. There are several situations that you will come across where you're put under pressure in terms of departing from them. But then, as long as you are clear that that is what you're going to be trusting, and I think that's the decision that I took after those, 2 personal experiences I had in the 90s. Because prior to that, if you ask me, I was not so much a means as much as an ends person. I said it's got to get done. We've got to do it fast. We've got to do it first. And I was a lot more aggressive in what I chased. I was a lot more hairy in terms of the decisions that I took. But after those experiences, then realizing a larger a larger perspective around our own existence, realizing that each of us come in with certain privileges, and it's not a privilege that we have to ignore. It's not a privilege that we can overlook. It's a privilege that we have to demonstrate, and that's to be done in the greater interest of God. And we have to understand that we get placed in certain positions because God's placed us in those positions. If I were to reflect back on the 32 years that I've been working so far and look at every career move that happened with me, every promotion that I got, and if I were to sit and write down saying that what made me do better than somebody else to get it, I can't uh, I can't clearly write down saying that this is what made me get ahead of somebody else. So obviously there is a larger hand behind all of this, which is taking you and charting you along a certain way. And I think as long as you understand that there is a larger hand and there is a larger purpose, and once that gets clearer, then you remain a little more steadfast to what you've grown with.